Hello everyone, I'm Richard Fredrickson and this is Profiles, and today's guest is a special guy, a good man, a name and face that you should right now take a good look at him, okay? Because I have the President and CEO of the Will County Center of Economic Development, Doug Pryor, here with us. Doug, good to see you.
Good to see you, Richard.
I'm going to do this. After you watch this on Channel 6, if you have folks outside of Will County, you tell them to go to YouTube. I think you call it the Joliet TV, YouTube, and this will be on there because this goes well beyond interests of Will County. It's really an Illinois story, and we're going to tell it right now. Center of Economic Development, tell me a bit about, well, what is it?
Well, the Will County Center for Economic Development is a non-for-profit development corporation. We are a public-private company, so we have relied on support both from businesses here in Will County and our local governments, and of course our top supporter, the County of Will. Our job is to represent Will County and its communities in the activity of business recruitment, business retention, business growth. We tend to be the frontline recruiters for projects that are generally a little bit bigger in scope, projects that are looking for locations somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere in the state of Illinois, or maybe anywhere in the United States. We try to position sites in Will County to be competitive and to try to recruit those businesses to come here to Will County. We've been lucky enough over our period of existence to have a lot of success in that space. As you know, Will County has been a bright spot for the state of Illinois, and we've seen a lot of growth here, both in terms of businesses and in terms of people and population, which we're very, very proud of. So it's been, frankly, an important institution here in Will County for now 40 years. We celebrated our 40th anniversary last year, and it's
just amazing, really, when you think about it. How many CEDs are there? Do you know in
oh
the
boy.
country?
In the country, there are many, many.
Really?
So there are more than 3,000 counties in the country, and Will County is one of the largest. We're a top 100 county, and I would say that every county our size certainly has one, but if you go down in size in counties, there are a lot of these. And here in northeastern Illinois, this model is fairly common. The large counties in the area, Lake County, DuPage County, Will County, and even like Kankakee and Grundy and McHenry, Winnebago, all have organizations that are very, very similar to ours that rely on partnership from the community, from the business community, and from the government sector to help drive better economic outcomes and quality of life.
So late 60s into the 70s and early 80s, the picture of Will County was, to compare it, was not a color photo, it was a black and white photo, because you had starter homes in Bolingbrook, not the Bolingbrook we have today. You had a Joliet that no one paid much attention to except, oh yeah, that's where the prison is. And on the story goes.
Mm-hmm.
And that transition began to take place, truthfully, and let's be honest about it, 40 years ago.
It did, and there were a lot of things that led to that transition, right? So if you go back 40 years in time and you look at the early 80s, we were dealing with recession in this country, we were dealing with high inflation rates, high interest rates. It was difficult to encourage investment in that environment. And what we saw instead throughout the Midwest and in mid-sized and larger cities in the Midwest was not investment, but disinvestment. We saw companies leaving the area, the steel mills closed, the large manufacturers pulled back. Here in Will County, and specifically south of Joliet, the Arsenal really wound down operations during those times. And so we saw a need for a change. And here in Will County in particular, that was the genesis of the Center for Economic Development. Local business people getting together and saying unemployment is very, very high, in the high teens. We're not seeing investment in this region. We need to do something. We need to make a proactive, concerted effort to do things to grow our economy. And that was when Center for Economic Development came into being, and ultimately when a lot of other organizations like ours came into being, as communities realized that you need to take a proactive and really intentional approach to developing your economy. And so we've seen a lot of change in that time, frankly, throughout northeastern Illinois, but in particular in Will County, right? It's very much in color now.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of conversations about Joliet or Will County back in those days. There was conversations here about the downtown and new shopping centers and things like that. But the economy back then was really a stretch for, I would think, whoever these people were who gathered together, the brain trust, who said we need to have a CED.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need names, but where do they come from? Were these bankers? Were these politicians? Who were these people?
All of the above, right? So certainly bankers played a huge role in the start of our organization, and many of the local banks and local bankers go back to day one. A pretty well-known name around Joliet, the Turks. I mean, Frank Turk was one of the real early leaders of this organization. We have an award named for him today for community
Sure.
service, and that matters to our group. It's something that we had this committed and dedicated group of founders, and they were committed and dedicated not just to this organization, but to this organization as a vehicle, as a tool to grow the economy and frankly make the quality of life better, for everyone in the region. Make no mistake, businesses invest in organizations like ours because a rising tide, lifts all boats. And if we're growing the economy, if we're growing residents, if we're adding to this place, our local businesses are made better off. And so there really is a bit of altruism to it, but there's a business case as well for folks that want to be a part of the growth story of Will County and help shape what we're going to be in the future.
So with that in mind, the business needs employees. So let's delve into that a little bit deeper than we had when we were on the radio a few hours ago. What about our employment here in Will County?
So one of the great attraction tools that we have at the Center for Economic Development is our people, our residents, our workforce. Our workforce is incredibly skilled, incredibly skilled. I've been lucky enough to work on some very, very complex projects over the years, and I'm proud to say we can build anything here. You want to build a new power plant? We've got it. You want to build a new nuclear power plant? We've got it. Manufacturing facility? We've got it. And there's nothing that our people can't build. In addition to that, in addition to the skilled labor that we have here, we have a highly educated and growing workforce. As a growing population center, that's an important sell. And as we've seen throughout the pandemic, there's been this great challenge in workforce. And it's the first question I get asked every time a company comes to town now is, where are my workers going to come from? And I can confidently say that a lot of the same assets that brought all of that manufacturing here 40 years ago and since are still in place and still important for that competitive balance. Proximity to population. If you draw a 35-mile radius around Will County, there are 4 million workforce in that area because we're lucky enough to be part of this global city region that is the Chicago area. But in addition to that, Will County itself has a very large labor force, 370,000 people. It's about the same as it was before the recession, before the pandemic. So we've seen people come back to work and people willing to work here in Will County. So it's something that's an incredibly important strength for us. Make no mistake, getting labor is still difficult today, right? As we see companies want to grow, want to hire, want to create new positions because they're doing well. Labor has been tighter for sure. Even with the same number of people in market, labor's been tighter. And so that's something that we, as an entity, have an obligation to work through. So we've got great partners in the educational system, both at university level with Governor State, Lewis, St. Francis, and with Joliet Junior College, and we have these partners that can help educate both in a general sense and then very specific and targeted programming for businesses. But we also have this great and robust high school system here in Will County that is a great partner for working with companies to help deliver workers, to help students gain an awareness of what's going on, sort of behind the fence line, if you will. And so we have a really strong pipeline. We continue to work to grow it. But this is not a 1 year or a 2 year fix, just like it's not a 1 or 2 year problem. This is an important commitment that we need to make for years to come, to make sure that we're delivering the skilled workforce to companies to encourage them to come here.
Part of the challenge is if you go through, and I've actually done this, you probably have me on camera, IKEA, Amazon, to drive through their parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of guess where these people are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
A significant number of these people are coming from outside Will County,
Yep.
commuting. And I don't know if you agree with me, but commuting today is a headache. Is a headache. However you get here, it's a headache.
I suspect that there's never been an era where people said, you know what is a great time
To
commuting. That's what I want to spend more time doing. So you're right. Commuting is a challenge, and particularly as people get back to work, and as we've seen sort of offices and businesses fill back up, we've been reminded of the challenge that commuting is. And you're absolutely right. We see huge cross-border traffic from among the counties, right? Residents and businesses, political geography doesn't matter, right? You
Right.
go to your house and you go to work. And anywhere you have a major metro, like Chicago, you're going to see a lot of cross-border traffic. A lot of people go to Cook County to work. A lot of people come from Cook County to work here. In fact, more than half of our residents leave the county every day to go to work, right? So it is a big sort of, how do I want to describe this? It's something that it's not unusual. It's something we've seen for decades and will almost certainly continue to see. But we do draw from throughout the region. It's why I say draw a 35-mile radius around Will County. The good news is we still have incredible transportation assets to get people here, right? Our highway system is robust. Metro delivers people to several stops through Will County. And PACE has been a great partner, both in a general sense of running buses through this region, but also meeting directly with employers to help deliver them to their door. In fact, quick shout out to PACE. I had one of their people reach out to me just 2 days ago, new company moving into town. Hey, put me in touch with them. We want to make sure we're helping them in delivering people there. So the truth is, commutes are never going to be a good time, but we are working hard to deliver solutions, not only to get people into Will County, but to get them that last mile to the job site. And that's always been the challenge for suburban mass transit, is that last mile, getting them to where they want to go.
Yeah, the PACE is such a successful operation. I mean, who would have thunk that buses out of Plainfield, in a field, I mean a field,
Yeah.
and people would park their cars and get on that bus and go to wherever they go. It's amazing to me, and all it has done is increase.
It's done nothing but grow. They just celebrated 10 years of Bus on Shoulder. We had an event out at the PACE building in Plainfield, which is, if you've been there, it's a great looking place. It's a really strong transit center. And 10 years of Bus on Shoulder, growing program, very successful. We've got a stop in Plainfield and one in Bolingbrook, and the bus rolls right up 55 on the shoulder and delivers people to and from Chicago every day. That's a real success story. And to your point, absent some strong vision, I'm not sure that comes into being. So, the municipal leaders, the county leaders, and PACE deserve a lot of credit for having that vision and putting it together. It's been It's been a wonderful success story, and I think something we'll continue to see grow, not just on that 55 corridor, but throughout the region.
Going back to the labor force, what I wanted to get into is a transition into, they're commuting, and we've got thousands of workers and more companies coming into Will County. What about housing? Where are we at with this housing picture here in Will County?
Housing is one of the more optimistic and challenging and complex stories that we have here in Will County and throughout the region. I'll start with the optimism. So Will County, this past year, 2021, for the third year in a row, was the leader in the state of Illinois in terms of single-family home building. So 3 years in a row, Will County has been #1 in the state in terms of the number of single-family homes built in a county. Roughly 1 in 7 single-family homes built anywhere in the state of Illinois are built in Will County. We're seeing a lot of reinvestment in that space and a lot of growth. That said, the market's telling us that it's clearly not enough. Over the course of the last few years, we've seen pricing continue to rise here in Will County, and this is something that 2 years ago, the median listing price per square foot in Will County was $136 a square foot, right? Strong. Today, March of 2022, $173 a square foot. So 27% growth in 2 years' time in pricing here in Will County. And we're seeing that in terms of sale prices. We're seeing that in terms of price per square foot, which is a much more fair metric of that. No matter how you look at it, there's pressure on the price side, which tells me there's a lot of demand in that space and people wanting to buy homes here. Supply remains terribly constrained. So for all of the construction that we're doing, all the new homes we're building, if you go back in time a few years, at any given time, Will County averaged 2,400 homes on the market, plus or minus. I looked just in the last couple days, March of 2022, we had 540 homes on the market. And so throughout the pandemic, we've seen the supply of available homes continue to fall as people are much more likely to hold on to their homes. So we see this growth, and for the first time in a really long time, we're starting to see developers, home builders come in and take down whole tracts of land. If you remember the time period 15, 20 years ago, we had developers coming in all the time, buying up large tracts of land and developing large subdivisions. Ever since the '08 crisis, we've really been in a position where we've been working off old inventory of lots that was still around. Those inventories are gone in many of our communities, and we're seeing new, robust development in that space, but not just in single family. One thing we've learned over the last several years is there is a real growing demand for multifamily and affordable housing, not just in Will County, but throughout the region. And this has been a function of a lot of things, changing preferences after the 2008 recession, chief among them. But what we're hearing from a lot of people in our communities is, hey, we're aging, our kids have moved out, we would love for there to be someplace in town where our adult kids can live, one, and can afford, because they can't afford the house we're in now, and two, where we can age in place in our community. And we've had very limited inventory for that here in Will County, but we've seen a lot of communities take that challenge up and start to develop much more variety of housing product, whether be it rental communities, smaller single-family homes, more townhome development. When it comes to housing, I tend to take an all-of-the-above approach to this, where we want to see housing develop in all kinds throughout the county. And we've seen a lot of our communities listen to their constituents, listen to the market, and say, we can do more. And they're really taking that up in a meaningful way. So this Will County growth that's happened over the years. And make no mistake, we added the second highest number of residents in the state of Illinois, census to census this last time. We're continuing to grow. But we can do more, and we can do more by meeting this new demand for housing. So we see, now millennials, I think a lot of people still think millennials are 25. Elder millennials are 40. And these are people that are having families, moving out of the cities back to the suburbs like the generations before them did, creating real demand for single family homes. And then we're seeing this next generation of young professionals looking for places that are maybe a little bit less permanent, but wanting to stay in their communities. And we're really seeing reinvestment there, and it's exciting for us because when we talk about workforce recruitment, being able to deliver talented workforce to job sites and to companies as they grow in this area, someplace for them to live is so important. There's a joke in the workforce business that it takes 18 years to make a new worker, right? Not if you can import them. And so for us, Will County, we need to continue to perform well in domestic migration. We need people to want to move here, and they do. Clearly the demand is there, and we're seeing communities really work to meet that demand. So that's been exciting.
On a cold day, day after Thanksgiving last year, you wonder where I'm going with this, right? Light up a holiday parade.
Yeah.
And something very unique in that parade. First time ever, possibly the first time anywhere. There was an electric bus coming down Chicago Street. Thousands of people were looking up and saying, what is that?
Yeah.
And Lion Electric on that sign. You, among some others, were integral in getting that company to come from, in fact, it was kind of, now that I think about it, at cold day, represented the company that is from Canada coming down to Joliet-Channahon border on Route 6. Tell me about that.
So I will start by saying a lot of credit needs to go to our partners in that. The state of Illinois, certainly the governor who made a lot of phone calls to help us recruit that. Will County, the executive's office, City of Joliet, we've seen a lot of partners come together to help bring that thing here. And certainly that's a project we're very, very proud of. Lion Electric is a Canadian producer of all-electric school buses and medium-duty trucks. When this facility is done, it will be their flagship facility. They have a small production facility in Canada where they're making some of these now. This facility will produce more than 20,000 units a year at full capacity, and it will be the largest facility of its size in North America, or of its kind, I should say, in North America, producing this type of vehicle. They're going to build them end-to-end right here in Will County, and this is really exciting. This is the sort of project that signals competitiveness for this region in the new manufacturing economy. I think we've spent a lot of time over the years talking about the history of Will County and the history of Joliet in the manufacturing space. Right? We saw steel mills here come and go. We saw a large munitions plant come and go. We saw Caterpillar that at its peak employed 8,000 people finally close operations in the last year or so. So we've seen a lot of this old manufacturing leave not only this region, but of course the Midwest in general, right, and the northeastern United States. And so we need to look at what our future is in the manufacturing space. We've been lucky enough to have some great anchors over the years in manufacturing that are still with us. But Lion Electric really presents sort of a flag in the ground to say, we're still here, we're still competitive, and the assets that were in place that made all of those other things work well are still in place today. We have tremendous proximity to population, right? Being close to Chicago really is a blessing. Being near a population center helps. Proximity to workforce and real skilled, talented workforce really matters and helps us bring these people in. And then proximity to our transportation network. This transportation network has been such a boon for other industries as well. It's not just the highways that we see that are built up, but remember the waterways really matter and the railways really matter. Will County is blessed with this confluence of transportation assets. Sort of the North American continent comes to Chicago in a lot of ways, and a lot of that is right here in Will County. And for businesses like Lion Electric that are looking at how they develop a supply chain, how they bring product into their facility and how they push it out, that supply chain, that set of transportation assets really matters and helps deliver a project here that is going to meaningfully change what we see in this region for years to come. Because remember, it's not just Lion Electric. Illinois has demonstrated that it's capable of competing in the EV space. We have Lion Electric here. 70 miles down the road, you have Rivian down in Bloomington producing electric trucks and SUVs. The former Chrysler facility in Rockford, we expect to flip to electric vehicle production. We really hope to see some of our other regional OEM auto manufacturing make the commitment to flip to electric as well. What all of this means is we're creating a meaningful cluster here in northeastern Illinois that is something that will draw more suppliers in, more knowledge work, more workers in general, and help make sure that we remain competitive in the next economy. And so that's really important for us. And you know, it's not just EVs. We see other new energy intensive spaces also investing in Will County, and that's very important for us as we go forward. Now, I also want to mention this. When we talk about new energy and new spaces in which Will County is incredibly competitive, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the hydrogen space as well. So hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cells are certainly part of the conversation for future transportation as well. And we have a company that's currently operating in Bolingbrook called Hyzon that I think a lot of people don't know is there. We went up for a visit last week. Hyzon is producing hydrogen fuel cells right here in Will County, right in Bolingbrook. But they're also doing research there. They've got a large team inside in Bolingbrook, and they're frankly another growing company. They're testing a hydrogen fuel cell semi, a tractor, at the Port of Long Beach right now, and really trying to figure out how that fits into the future of energy and transportation as well. So we spend a lot of time, I think, in the public space talking about electric vehicles, and make no mistake, there's a great future there. There's a lot going on in the electric vehicle space, and that's so exciting. But it's not the only new technology and new transportation technology that's happening both nationally and right here in Will County. So we continue to see that we are a great draw for this kind of investment. It's a function of where we are. It's a function of our assets, our people, and sort of it creates this environment that's so conducive to development and to growth and to innovation, and that's really exciting.
Yeah. Before we, I'm going to go to a low-profile company in Will County that's international. But I want to go back maybe 5 paragraphs, 2 sentences, and 2 words on the transportation, and we were talking about that. And a number escapes me, but you may know it, but I know it's significant. When we talk about crossroads of Mid-America, Joliet, Will County, I-80, I-55, 65 further down the road, all these interstates, coming through Will County on an everyday basis is the GDP of the United States of America.
So 3.5% of the national gross domestic product passes through Will County every year. You know, the dollar amount is well in excess of $600 billion. And what we found is, an overwhelming amount of this traffic is just passing through, right? We are very much a crossroads for America. But a lot of the product that comes in is product specifically targeted to this region, to this area. And it's a function of a lot of things, right? Changing consumer preferences being a big one, as we see people do much more shopping online and wanting product to be delivered to their homes. To have that work and to have that work in a timeline that people want, you need to have facilities, distribution centers, fulfillment centers, small little last mile delivery places near population centers. And so for Will County, and frankly the entire Chicago region, we've seen a lot of growth in that industrial space, and it very much is a function of all of that product that's passing through and ultimately being delivered to people's homes. If you think about retail, and brick and mortar retail is very far from dead. There's a future for brick and mortar retail, and we're going to continue to see that. But we see people wanting things delivered to their home more and more, and so there was a time when you would get in your car if you wanted to purchase something, and you would go along with other people to a central point, a store, you would take your product and go home. You were the distribution channel
Right.
at that time, the last mile distribution. What we see now with more and more deliveries to homes, whether you're going on Amazon or Home Depot or IKEA's website, purchasing something and having it delivered to your home, that last mile is being handled by someone else. So instead of consumers going to a central point, the product is in a central point and then going from there out to consumers. And we've seen a lot of growth in that space, and there's not a lot of reason to believe that people are going to change that shopping habit anytime soon.
Yeah. Speaking of shopping, let's go to downtown Plainfield. We have a couple of foo-foo shops, and some great restaurants, and it kind of looks like Mayberry in downtown Plainfield, and it's all positive. I love going to Plainfield. It's a great town, wonderful people, but hidden for decades is a company that's internationally famous.
Yeah.
And every one of you, well, maybe not you and you, but most of you have probably consumed some of their product, and that is?
That is Diageo. So I think a lot of people are familiar with Diageo and some of their products. The very famous brands include Guinness, Crown Royal, Smirnoff vodkas. Diageo sells a lot of different product, a lot of which is produced right in Plainfield and has been for decades. This is one of those companies that has employed a lot of people in town and continued to reinvest in the area over the course of the last several years, and we've seen some exciting growth. So just a few years ago, Diageo invested in a new distribution facility just a couple miles west of their production facility, and we were excited. This is great news. This is a reinvestment in the community, and it says the production is going to stay here, right? They really want to continue to partner with the Village of Plainfield, and again, a lot of credit to the folks at the Village of Plainfield that were able to put that project together and help continue that Diageo partnership. And it immediately paid dividends. So immediately on the heels of that, we saw Diageo reinvest in their manufacturing facility, an $80 million investment in pre-mixed beverages. So canned pre-mixed beverages. Richard, I am not talented behind a bar. So if I want a pre-mixed beverage, I either need to go somewhere and get it, or now go to the supermarket and pick up any one of these many products that Diageo has put into the market. The premixed cocktail business has grown and grown and grown, and they are right at the leading edge of it. They have enough production capacity in this new facility in Plainfield to produce 25 million cases of premixed beverage every year. So this is a company, an international company that continues to invest in Will County, in the Village of Plainfield, and grows here, and that is so exciting for us. It's great to see these partners continue to grow. You and I have talked about this before. I think a lot of people look at economic development. It's all about outside recruitment. Who did you bring in? What new company is in town? Look, these growth stories are so exciting. The growth stories are really the growth centers. It's our existing companies, these companies that continue to see the value in this region and grow and reinvest, and Diageo is a great story for that.
Yeah. I love history. So next time, in the not too distant future, let's put together, maybe it's you and a few others, histories and backgrounds of some of our Joliet, Will County businesses that have been around a while and have expanded, and innovations that are, we've got all kinds of innovative, creative producers, owners, managers, corporations here in Will County.
We do.
That I think would be startling for people to know. You mean they're here in Will County? Yes, they are.
It's really exciting, right? In this history, I tell you, I love when you get folks from these companies and leaders from these companies to start telling their story, because there are remarkable stories, right? As these businesses have changed, evolved, and grown here. And so, yeah, that's an exciting thing that we can talk about.
Sure. Well, now there's just the two of us here. So if you kind of sort of share a little bit of developments that are taking place but haven't hit the media yet, and you haven't issued any press releases yet, just the two of us.
Just the two of us?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'll say, or at least just to start with, I'll talk a little bit about the project pipeline. And I will say that with the addition of some of the new EV companies that have been coming into the area, we're seeing a lot of interest in that supplier network, and I think we're going to have some good stories for that, both for Will County and the area right around Lion Electric, but also for the region as we continue to see more investment in that space and more projects come there. So more to come in that space. In addition to that, we continue to see growth and investment throughout the county. East Will County, we've seen a couple of very large projects go up in the last few months. Carvana, the online automotive retailer, is just completing a very large vehicle reconditioning facility in the Village of University Park. That is an exciting project, 500 plus jobs, and certainly something that's a big boost for that community. And right up the road from there, I won't say the name yet, but we have a large building, a 900,000 square foot building going up for a steel and metals finishing company that is underway now. And then, of course, we continue to see some of the growth and expansion in e-commerce and in supply chain, particularly post-pandemic. This emphasis on supply chain, moving closer to customers and reshoring supply chain continues to manifest itself. Amazon just leased a building in Centerpoint. It's their 12th facility in Will County. Walmart just took a building in Centerpoint as well. So we continue to see sort of this e-commerce growth and this nexus continue to happen here as well. So we see a big, broad-based sort of spectrum of projects from e-commerce to retail. Certainly the retail and entertainment project that Cullinan is developing on the northeast side of 55 and 80 is making a lot of headway, right? So we're seeing a lot of dirt moving out there. So we're seeing that project really develop and gain momentum as well. Richard, a lot of new restaurants are opening up. This has been a real extraordinary phenomenon as we've seen restaurants continue to take spaces, even through the last couple of years, reinvent, redevelop, and grow. So get out and patronize your local Will County restaurants. Certainly this is something that we've seen them grow and reinvest, and it's been exciting for us. So as we go forward, everything from the very, very large projects, Jackson Generation down in Elwood, the large natural gas-fired power plant, it's one of the largest investments in Illinois, and they are underway now and on track to complete. Should be early next year, and that is going to be, frankly, one of the cleanest and most impressive natural gas-fired projects anywhere in the United States. And we're really excited to see that one finally coming to fruition and developing. So we see growth in very large projects, mid-sized projects, manufacturing projects like Lion and Hyzon, and then back in our small businesses. We really do see all tides rising here. It's been extraordinary.
Well, we've extended the time of the interview because there's so much to cover and so much good news out there. I mean, you could go on. We could talk about the new owners of Promenade and Bolingbrook and on and on. And the importance of Joliet being the county seat of Will County. We haven't even touched that, and the development going on in downtown and the master plan and all that. So stay tuned. We'll have more coming from Mr. Doug Pryor, who happens to be the CEO and president of Will County Center of Economic Development. I'm Richard Fredrickson. Thank you for watching Profile.